Okay, boys and girls, look at this. I've got my widget. So when you're logged in your account, here you will see the authors, the note takers that you're following, and you will see the tags that you're following. And so this was a big thing for me, right? So if you go to this main stream, you see the widget. If you go to following author, you see the widget. If you go into following tags, you see the widget. If you click on this, you see the widget. If you click on that, you see the widget. That's the amazing thing about a widget. A widget is basically one of those things that you program once and then copy and paste wherever the hell you want to put it, right? So again, I know how to code in PHP. PHP is the main language I've coded in for a long time. And one of the things with PHP, which is really nice, is you basically have this include statement. So what you can do is you can create a file of PHP code, and you could put all the PHP code in there. You can have it query databases, you can have it ping APIs, the whole 9 yards. And then basically you just include. And by using a single line of text that says include, you're able to include everything you wrote in that particular file. And so that's kind of what I thought I was going to be doing in the Django world. I was looking for the include. And they do have an include. To be clear, they do have an include statement. But you can only include static HTML files. So you could include, let's say, a menu bar, right? But this is dynamic, right? It's following author and the authors, and then that is dynamically created. Following tags, that's dynamically created, right? So you can include a static HTML file, but you can't include something that's actually dynamic using Python or whatever to query the database. And so I was going through and I was trying to figure out what the hell to do. And basically what you have to do is in your views file, what I decided is that I created functions. So I created functions I could call widget following and widget following tags. So these are the authors that I'm following, and these are the tags that I'm following. You can see that I give it a request, and then you come through here and basically, right, it's the authenticated user. You grab the profile information. It gets basically the people that you're following, and then it returns it, right? It returns it. And then what I do up here into the views, right? So the view. So this is the note list view. And so up here, following equals widget following request, following tags equals widget following tags. And then the context, I feed those values into the context under widget following and widget following tags. And then we go over to note list, right? Then we go here, and this is the... where is it? I'm sorry, go up to main. We go to main, and then we have, so if widget following, so basically if there are int values in widget following tags, then print out following tags, 4x in widget following tags, print that out. Again, widget following authors, print that out. Right? And so what I think is kind of interesting about this from an educational standpoint is understanding the paradigm that you're dealing with the technology that you're trying to deploy or maintain, right? So a big thing to understand about technology is that there's no real or right way or wrong way to do anything, right? You just have somebody that sits down one day and builds a product, or you have hundreds or thousands of people that sit down one day and they build a product. And when they build a product, they decide how you are supposed to interact with that product. They decide, right, basically how you input stuff, how you output stuff, all of that type of thing. And so one of the big issues you can have when you're learning a new technology is you may not understand the paradigm that you're working within, right? So with PHP, again, the big thing with PHP is PHP was supposed to be developed, so even secretaries were able to code for their bosses. And so basically having an include statement where you're able to include an entire file worth of code made a lot of sense from that simplicity standpoint, right? Well, one of the things when you're dealing with Django really cares about things like security and also readability, that type of thing. And so basically with this, they don't want you to simply be able to dump in massive amounts of code using an include statement, because that could add a tremendous number of vulnerabilities. It's very difficult to read, very difficult to understand, the whole 9 yards. And so in this particular paradigm, using this particular programming language, it's much more about doing things such as creating functions, feeding the results out to the templates, so that it's easier for people to follow along with what's going on, right? So like I said, contact here, so this list note, right? So all this, so I can see here, and I can see, okay, we're spitting out notes, the value for notes. What is the value for notes? Okay, all of the objects and values within the note table, ordered by added timestamp negative. Okay, so that's all the notes. So that's what's going on here. And I can say, okay, widget following is following. What does that mean? Okay, following equals widget following. And then I can just scroll down here and I can see what the function is and go from there. And it's an easier, once you understand it, once you grasp the concept, it is an easier way to maintain things, and it's an easier way to make sure your stuff is secure. But if you don't understand what viewpoint, the technology creator was coming from, that's why a lot of times learning technology can be very difficult, right? So as I was playing around with this, I was playing around with includes. So again, there are includes, but you can only do static. And then when I saw you could only do static, it was like, well, does that mean you can only do static, or does that mean they are only showing you examples of static? And then I was like, well, if you can only do static, what if I auto create static? Actually, I went down that road for a little while. So basically I would have a function that would auto create a file, a text file that had the hyperlinks in it. Then I could include that file. And then you're sitting there going, it seems like a bad idea. It works. I want to tell you, it worked. But as it worked, I was like, I don't think that's what they want me to do here. So as I kept going, I was like, oh, okay, now I understand what's going on. So anyways, when you are learning technology, it is incredibly important that you understand, or try to understand, what paradigm you're working under, because once you understand what paradigm you're working under, everything gets a lot easier, right? So I've got these widgets here. So these widgets, they're reusable widgets. I can dump them wherever I want, or not dump them wherever I don't want them. And again, a little bit more complicated than include, but I do have to say that is probably a crap ton more secure. Let's be honest, probably a lot more secure. And let's also be honest, probably a crap ton more maintainable at the end of the day. So anyways, there you go. Some thoughts on the paradigm. How is a system built? Again, we talk about like architectural paradigms, client-server architecture, service-oriented architecture, microservices architecture, serverless architecture. And again, that's one of the important things to be thinking about too. Like when we talk about these paradigms, so when we're talking about like architectures, like the difference between service-oriented architecture versus a microservices architecture. So if you're going to be building products within your company, it's very important to understand what's going on, because a lot of people say, well, service-oriented architecture is basically microservices architecture. And it kind of sort of is, right? Really, when you think about it at the end of the day. But it's a bit of a different mentality. Like service-oriented architecture is more like you're going to be pulling services from the cloud, from APIs. You're going to be hitting Box, you're going to be hitting Google stuff, you're going to be hitting Amazon stuff, whatever else. So kind of the idea is you have this distributed services-oriented architecture. Where when we start doing microservices architecture, it's more an entire mentality about how your entire infrastructure should work. When you think about microservices, the idea that everything that your computer interacts with should be a service, not a server. Right, again, and if you're a noob, you're like, wait a minute, what do you mean? What's the difference between a service and a server? A service is different than a server, right? You can have a file service on your network, and you interact with that service in a different way than you interact if you think of it as a server. A file server is a thing, and a file service sharing service or whatever is a thing. And there's a mentality of how you interact with those two different things. And so when you start to build or maintain or repair, it's kind of important to be thinking about that to understand how your infrastructure is supposed to function. So anyways, there you go. Again, it's my little note-taking app. I like it. This is all mine. Again, I am highly shocked. Very, very, very little copy and paste out of all of this. But I'm happy with it. Again, I actually use it. I am using the product in order to build the product. It's very fast. It's very easy to find things. And I'm pretty happy with it. It is Friday now. I thought I was going to be deploying it to the web this week. Maybe next week. Right now, so basically at this point, I have some things I need to clean up. So like social media, I want these to be like lines of text input files, and then you could change them or delete them. Kind of the following author and following tags. I want to clean up how this gets done. There's some of that kind of stuff that I need to clean up. So, maybe next week it'll go online. Or the week after. It is every single day we are moving ahead, and I do feel like it is a good little product here. But it's the technology world. You'll get your occupancy permit just as soon as I install the kitchen into this program. We have somebody coming next week to install the refrigerator into this platform. How do you install a kitchen or a refrigerator into a platform? That's the question. That is the inside joke. If you giggled, you get the inside joke. If you didn't giggle, well, don't worry. Stick around for a while. You'll get the new inside jokes. So anyways, with that, that's all I've got to say for paradigms and all that kind of thing. Think about the paradigm that you're interacting with. And also, if things are really hard, if things are like nonsensically hard, one of the things to ask yourself is, do you understand the paradigm that you're dealing with? If you're like, I'm not dumb. I'm not completely stupid. This should be easier. Maybe the issue is you're trying to bang that circular peg into the square hole. You need to go find a square peg. So anyways, with that, we are almost at 1,000 subscribers. So please subscribe, if you want to. Give us a thumb up or a thumb down. Leave a comment. And with that, I'll see you all next week.